看英文。
什么书？
你今年有打算要出国吗？
If you are, Photos just released a list of places not to go in 2024.
建议你先不要去以下的地点，为什么呢？因为有一点雷哦。去年11月 ，Forbes 它发表了2024年不建议去旅游的名单以后，就掀起了一波的讨论哦。
That's right. Now, the original article is a bit long, so we found some other news sources that will summarize the key points. The three main points that Fodor's talks about are over-tourism, trash production, and water quality and sufficiency.
那以下我们就这个过度旅游这3个地点，我们来跟大家分享一下是哪3个地点啊？
Destinations to avoid due to over-tourism in Venice, Italy. Unfortunately, Venice has made headlines for a lot of the wrong reasons in recent years. In 2018, the one-of-a-kind city was featured in Fodor's No list and hasn't made enough improvements. Whether it's dolphins in the canals or extreme floods, ironically, this remarkable city is drowning with tourists to the point of being ineligible of becoming the next World Heritage Site. Strategies are being set to combat the crowds, but will a $5 entry fee really make a difference?
先科普介绍一下，这个威尼斯呢，它的面积是414平方公里，然后每年呢有2000万的观光人次会到访威尼斯哦。那这个大小你应该还没有什么感觉。那我跟各位说一下，新北市是它的5倍大。
Now, in order to help solve this problem, the government has imposed a tourist tax of €5 for 30 non-consecutive days in the spring and summer seasons. But I don't think that 30 days of a tourist tax is really going to make a big difference, especially because the tax is €5.
其实，在那边吃个蛋卷冰淇淋，可能都才要10欧元，它这个收5欧是。我们之前也有介绍过威尼斯嘛，说那时候我们说居民其实越来越少，现在其实已经不到5万人。所以再过一阵子，可能真的正式的公民就从威尼斯灭绝，你看到的全部都是观光客，或只是为了观光客工作的人。
对，变成像一个 like a
Disneyland.
Yeah, like a Disneyland. Yeah,
是
yeah.
假的。
Yeah. All right, next we're going to look at Athens, Greece. Let's check it out. Unfortunately, poor management of the influx of tourists is causing some big issues to their culture and the iconic Acropolis. New protocols have been set in place to attempt to preserve the most historic landmark in the country. Day trips have skyrocketed in popularity by crews, and the city just isn't equipped to handle it. There are plenty of other amazing places in the Mediterranean waiting to be discovered while pushing the Acropolis further down on your bucket list.
它这甚至被教科文组织认定为说是一个民主、哲学、剧场、言论自由的诞生地。那这么重要的地方，它其实每一颗石头都有它的历史故事可以告诉我们。现在因为太多观光客，所以呢，他们在那上面居然铺了一层混凝土，加固了整个地板，好让这个地板不会被踩坏。可是那这些有历史的石头也不见了。
And part of what makes it so difficult to manage the tourism in Athens, Greece is the same reason why Venice has so many problems. Cruise ships. You might have 10 different cruises that are arriving at once or within the same season that just open the doors and release thousands of people into the streets. And suddenly the city is flooded with tourists, and that's a very difficult situation to manage. Yeah, so guys, due to copyright issues, we could not put up any photos in this video for you, but I highly recommend you just pull up your little Google browser and look for pictures of these cities while flooded with tourists. It is truly people mountain, people sea.
下一个地点是台湾人非常爱去的地方，叫做日本。我自己都去了4次，而且我本来今年就打算去爬富士山，跟大家介绍一下富士山为什么也满满都是人。
Mount Fuji has seen such a rush of travelers that Japan is publicly encouraging tourists to go more off-path. Although its sheer beauty is a sight to behold, visitors are failing to recognize the danger in both the natural wonder's longevity and the personal safety risks of climbing it. it becomes even more of a potential nightmare as long lines of hikers become blockades to emergency situations. The highest point of Japan has seen irresponsible visitors leaving behind rubbish and not paying fees to help conservation, a double whammy.
它在攀登季节，所谓攀登季节就是7月1号开始到9月10号左右就不能再爬了，居然有221322人登上富士山。它其实那个山屋啊很难抽到，那就算是7月到9月还是很冷，可是就会有人躲在那个山屋旁边，你知道那石头缝不要被风吹到的地方，里面全部都躲着人。那他们躲着要干嘛？就是天快亮的时候，这一群人就从石头后面跑出来，然后开始爬上去，要去看日出。所以那个时候凌晨10分，就是整个山顶都在蠢动，然后很多人就上山，然后原本要爬2个小时而已就可以完成的这个看日出的行程，因为人太多，所以得爬4个小时。
There are some folks who have gotten into the habit of doing the 子弹攀登, which is climbing like bullets. Ordinarily, climbing a high mountain like Mount Fuji, you would want to do that over 1 or 2 days, gradually, so that your body can adjust to the altitude. But if you try to do the whole thing in 1 day, it can actually be easy for your body to not adjust properly, for people to get sick and pass out, and then if there's an emergency situation, getting that person down the mountain becomes a huge problem because there are so many people blocking the trail.
接下来我们看的3个地点是被文章评论成垃圾太多，因为我们刚刚介绍3个是人太多，这3个是垃圾太多。首先第一个地点就来自美国，垃圾山。
美国的垃圾山 That's those crazy Westerners. Out in Pennsylvania, we would never have something like this.
啊，这是加州啦。
Destinations to avoid due to trash production. San Gabriel Mountains National Monument, California. As the state that seems to take the most pride in being at the forefront of conservation and sustainability, you would think California would preserve natural sites better. Well, apparently not. For a state with the goal of banning gasoline-powered cars by 2035, they're off to a poor start, making the world greener, at least with this destination. Combining the number of visitors with the lack of environmental policies has made San Gabriel a dud for 2024. 8,000 pounds of garbage have been removed by volunteers, with the best solution now being to allow nature to heal from too many tourists and careless management. 8,000 pounds later, still 清不完. So the only proposed solution is to basically shut it off.
其实我也很常去爬山，特别常去爬宜兰的山。确实啊，台湾的山风景也很美，但是也是有垃圾。
Control yourself. Bring a trash bag.
接下来这个地点呢，我每个月都有朋友在 IG po 他的照片，就是越南的哈农贝。
Ha Long Bay. Tourism is affecting the local community negatively, and conservation policies have gone by the wayside. The bay is full of garbage and diesel, hurting fishing communities and wildlife. Boat tours frequented by visitors don't realize the ripple effects that end up harming this UNESCO World Heritage Site. So guys, Ha Long Bay is super famous visually, right? It has been featured in James Bond films, it was featured in the King Kong movies, and countless other films, I'm sure. But because it's so beautiful and because it's so famous, it is actually becoming less and less able to sustain the tourism of people who want to go there and see it.
然后呢，我们查到了一篇文章，还就是讲嘛，有一位女士说，她游完泳以后就是觉得，为什么还要被冲水？原来就是上面都是油，柴油。然后她说里面根本就没有鱼，没有生物。还有就是附近的这个渔业养殖也因为非常兴盛，他们使用的保丽龙，如果自己 hold 不住，它也流到下龙湾里面去了。
And although the government has put in place strict restrictions on using single-use plastics, particularly on the boats, tourists still report being offered plastic bottles of water or other drinks when they step onto the boat, and once they finish drinking them, they might hope that they're being recycled, but they're likely being just thrown into the water.
下一个地点，我们来到南美洲智利，我们来看 Atacama Desert。
Atacama Desert, Chile. As the winner of the most romantic destination of the World Travel Awards, they've missed the part about the massive dump site in the desert. And let's be real, nobody dumps on dates. As gorgeous as the Atacama Desert may be with its natural wonders such as geysers, it's also home to a massive dump site for used textiles. It's not exactly a place that screams romance. Since Chile's government doesn't allow certain materials in landfills, the dump site has become so big you can see it from space. Before we get to the problems too much, though, let's just remember that the Atacama Desert is absolutely beautiful. You go there and you can see desert stretching for miles and miles, and then in the far distance you can see snow-capped mountains. The Atacama Desert is also known among stargazers as being the site of one of the most famous observatories due to its high altitude and dry air.
对，那边你可以看到深红色的这个火星地表的现象，还有就是彩虹谷，还有碧绿色的西湖，这么好的地方，就因为一个奇怪的政策，让这个所有快时尚的这个废弃的衣物，可以一口价直接塞进智利，埋在这里面。它的整个面积占比居然是一个中央公园这么大。
Now, the government said that there are to be no textiles that are dumped in their landfills, because even though America doesn't want it, they dump it in South America. Some of it gets used, and then they still don't want a bunch of it, so they have to dump it somewhere. The government says, no, not in our landfills, because the textiles don't break down naturally. So they sound like they're being very environmental. But the truth is, you still have to dump it somewhere, so they dump it in the desert.
那接下来3个地点呢，被列入 No List 里面呢，是因为水质或缺水的问题。第一个地点，我们又要看北美的加拿大。
加拿大不是我，不要看我。These destinations lack water quality and sufficiency. Lake Superior. The largest freshwater lake on the planet is facing a plethora of issues, largely due to over-tourism and climate change. Warming waters are seeing worrisome effects on the environment, including icky algae blooms. Invasive species are invading the waters and affecting the ecosystem, which affects local communities. Visitors are leaving trash behind at campgrounds and stressing the environment to its limits. As beautiful as Lake Superior may be, it may be time to give it a break.
这个加拿大苏必略湖呢，是世界第4大湖，它的面积是82414平方公里。各位，台湾阿玛嘎才36000，它就是2个台湾大，这么大的湖。
During some popular American camping holidays like Memorial Day, there are huge waves of tourists who come to the area, and locals complain that they aren't even able to access parts of the lake that they once went, or maybe they went with family in the past. They can't even get there because there are so many tourists.
想象一下，你就住在这个美丽的基隆河的旁边，还是河滨公园哦。然后想说有一天要带着你家狗去河滨公园散步的时候，居然还要付100块门票。对，人家现在就是发生这样的事情，因为游客太多，然后要处理垃圾，又要处理这个人流问题，只好就是限制入场的人数。
On top of that, you of course add things like the algae blooms caused by the warming waters and invasive species, some of whom may have actually been introduced by tourists, which just ravage the environment and cause all kinds of problems.
第二个，我们来看这个水质有问题的地方，绝对不能错过，就是印度的恒河。
That's right. Issues are wide-ranging from pollution, endangered dolphins, and too many luxury cruise tourists. Pollution has been a major problem for years, yet the Hindu religion still sees this river as sacred, even with an estimated 800 million gallons of untreated sewage poured into this body of water.
整个恒河流域上面住了4亿人，有这么多人，而且呢，恒河被视为圣河，所以很多的仪式，还有就是沐浴啦，或者是这个火葬之后的骨灰啦，或者是 葬礼的这些礼物，他们就直接送进河里面。各位有听过河豚吗？不是日本在吃那种身上有刺的河豚哦，是住在河里面的海豚。那现在这种海豚呢，河豚已经在恒河里面呢，只发现不到1000只，已经开始进入濒危名单。
That's right. Due to the high volume of cruise ships, once again with the cruises, the high volume of ships on the river disrupts the dolphins' ability to use echolocation, which is where they use sound to figure out where they are in the water and also to communicate with one another. When that is disrupted, it also disrupts their living patterns, mating patterns, and ability to hunt for fish.
最后一个要介绍的地点呢，也是一个热门的旅游景点，可是之前就已经发生过风岛的苏梅岛。我们来认识一下。
Koh Samui, Thailand. Koh Samui is a popular island destination in Thailand, but it comes with underlying problems. Water shortages are plaguing the island as 70% of supplies are being consumed. Just this summer, advisories were put in place that there were only 30 days of fresh water left. This has caused locals to have to pay out of pocket for bottled water for both personal and business use. The hordes of tourists just simply aren't helping, as more people equals more consumption. The water shortage began last December and is still ongoing today. Locals believe fewer tourists will help the island to get back to where it needs to be to become a thriving destination once again.
这边政府其实已经说，7月2号的时候呢，你要开始准备付钱买水，这还可以理解。但是他付多少钱呢？是250到300泰铢买2公升的水。没错，就是你去便利商店买这样子 size 的水，就要200到300块。
This tremendous overuse of resources is a result of the post-pandemic tourist surge and, of course, climate change, which has really impacted weather patterns and probably how much they're able to get water from rainfall and stuff. But they are already pumping lots of groundwater, and they may have to pump even more, which could disrupt their land and cause even more environmental problems.
根据资料显示，这个苏梅岛每天需要用到3万立方公尺的水，那其中70%呢都被餐厅还有这个酒店给用掉了。
So, does that mean we're going to be looking at another shutdown on this particular island? I don't know, but it might be for the best.
以上就是今天的英文。
什么树？
我们刚刚介绍这些景点，有在你今年打算要去旅游的景点吗？再考虑一下哦。
If you have been to any of these places on this list, why don't you tell us about it in the comments? If you're planning to go to one of these places, cancel your plane ticket, go to Pennsylvania.
又是。
Yeah.